And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Howdy everybody, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at a board game called Farlight. Farlight is a game in which you are building a spaceship and you are trying to accomplish various missions. It's a worker placement game in which you're going to be placing tokens on the board, except you don't know what tokens everyone's placing. You see where they're placing them, but you don't know how valuable they are. Then when you win pieces of a spaceship, put your spaceship together and hope that you can accomplish these missions. Here's how it works. In this game, each player is going to start with a primary core that they'll have, and they're going to be building a ship as the game goes by. And you're stuck by the connections. Your primary core starts with 4, but not every card comes with that many connections. In fact, this one can only be connected from it's a left connection, so I could stick it here as I put it on the ship. But just be careful as you put these on your ship, because you only have so many spots to put things. You are building your ship because the ship will give you sometimes benefits, like this one here gives me 1 science token per turn. Sometimes they give you immediate benefits, but you're doing this to complete missions. To complete a mission and get the points shown on the card, you need to meet the requirements. Here this says I need at least 2 biotech on my ship. I have 4, so I'm fine. I need to be able to spend 2 science tokens, so if I have them, I'm fine. And I need 4 engines on my ship with a value of 2, 3, 4, and 5 or higher. Well, I have a 3 and I have a 6, so I would have satisfied the 5 and the 3, but I need 2 more engines on my ship before I can accomplish this mission. So that's what I'm trying to do over the course of the game. How do we do it? In each round of the game, players are going to be taking some bidding tokens that they have. Everyone has the same ones, 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And on your turn, you're going to use 2 of them and place them. You can put them on the same thing, or you can put them in 2 different areas. You can place them on different spots on the board, or you can place them on a mission to try to accomplish that mission. There's a colonist here, currency that you can play. When you play one of your people, you can put 1 on top of it to add 1 to the value of that. But at most, you can only put 1 on top of each of your tiles. So you'll place 2. Everyone will do that in turn order, then 2 more, and then 1 more, the 5th one. Once they're all done, you'll reveal each one on the spots here. So for example, I played a 4 plus a 1, which is 5. This person only played a 1, so I'm the person who wins the card, and I'll add that to my ship. This one's going to give me a person every round, and it will immediately give me 3 people. The person who, or people who don't win, will get their tiles back, and for each tile that they spent, they'll get a colonist. Now, if you put a colonist on your tile and you lose, you get that back. So you have all these spots in the bottom. Some of them aren't there depending on the number of players. These are going to be winning space parts, which are going to be added each turn. These tiles, some tiles come with engines. These numbers on the engines, when the tile's first put out, you'll roll dice, and the highest die is put on the highest number engine, and the lowest die and the lowest number engine, etc. And there are cards that allow you to increase your engine numbers. There are other spots on the board. Whoever wins this spot gets to increase an engine by 1. Whoever wins this spot gets a science token. Whoever wins this spot gets 3 people. And whoever wins this spot can discard cards off their ships. At the beginning of the game, you're going to be placing some missions up here, depending on the number of players. And there's a final mission that's at the end of each one. These missions are going to be put in number order. And so if multiple people go to one of these, whoever has the highest number gets the chance to accomplish the mission first. So let's say I have 2 science tokens to turn in. I'll get 5 points for the Mars space elevator if I'm purple. Everybody else, the white player here, can also accomplish the mission if they can meet the requirements, but they will get only half the points. And if anybody completes the mission, the card is discarded. And now the next mission is available. There's going to be multiple missions. When one of these final missions is completed, that triggers the end of the game, as does if the deck of parts for the ship runs out after being replaced each turn. That will also trigger the end of the game. There's some reward tiles. There's 7 different tiles. 3 of them are placed here. These will add to your score. So as you're at the end of the game, if you have the most, for example, biotech on your ship, then you'll get a bonus of 5 points. Then you just add together your points, and whoever has the most is the winner. The components for the game are fine. I like the art. The art's fine, although I would argue that these pieces and how they connect, while it looks kind of cool, it's not always easy to see what everything does. Now, they did put some lines here. You'll notice here, these are both the same things. These bioreactors, but there's like little black lines above the name to show you that there's 3 cards in the deck that are bioreactors that have that kind of combination of connectors there. So that works fine. The dice are good quality. I really like the dice. The science tokens and the people also work well. And like I said, the art on the cards is fine. Oddly enough, though, the whole thing together does not jive as well as you might think. I don't get a real strong spacey theme from it, especially when putting the ship together. That might just be me. But again, it's fine, if albeit a bit generic. Farlight is designed by the same designer who made King's Forge, and this time he's entering into the space arena here. There's a few problems with the game, but before I jump into that, I want to say the game works fine. But at the end of the day, that's just what I keep coming back to. I'm like, yeah, it's fine. But the thing is that it's an extremely generic space theme. Very generic. Your corporations in the near future, space corporations and agencies set out to explore and colonize the solar system. Really? I mean, that's like every other space game. There's nothing new here. And I think that's my biggest concern with this game, is that there's nothing new here. Now, nothing new is not necessarily a bad thing, because there's lots of games that have nothing new in them but are completely fun games. This one's fine. It uses blind bidding, is what I call this, or blind worker placement, where you can see where people place stuff, but you don't know the numbers that are on them, and then you flip them all over. There's actually not a lot of games like that, and for good reason. There's a lot of people who just don't like that. It introduces a degree of uncertainty. You can put those colonists on top to add to your bids, which is fine, but at the end of the day, it's very possible to have a round in games like this where you don't win anything. Oh, you get more colonists back so you could win in the future, but since they have a limit of only 1 colonist per tile, which, by the way, I find to be a very odd rule. If you get colonists for not winning a bid, and the rules are like, don't worry, that evens things out. No, it does not. But if you do get them, wouldn't it make sense to be able to be like, I'm getting this bid? That's could be annoying, right? However, there's so many things to bid on. Like in a 5-player game, you saw there's 12 different things, 12 different items to bid on, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. There's 19 different places to put stuff. There's a very strong possibility you will occasionally go somewhere where you're not crossing someone. However, there are some parts that are clearly better than others. Engines, for example. Everyone needs engines on their ships. Half the missions require engines. So you want to get an engine. So when an engine comes up, there might not, because the parts are random as they come out, there might only be 1 engine out there. Well, everyone's going to want it. So then everyone's going to bid on it, but only 1 player is going to get it. That player has an advantage because next turn, everyone else will fight over what remaining engine there is. That person can be like, do, and finish off missions. And so that I found to be somewhat problematic in this. Also, there's not a lot of interesting places to place your people. Ooh, you get science tokens. Ooh, you get people. Ooh, you can rearrange your ship. Oh, that's it. Now, all this to be said, I didn't dislike the game. The game is fine. You put out these workers, you try to outguess other people. There's some laughter as you turn over the tiles and find out that you've won something, or you massively overbid when you didn't need to. The other person had 2 tiles, they were a 0 and a 1, and I put my 3 and 4 and put a person on top of each of them. So I beat you 8-1. So there's a little bit of that in the game. And building the spaceship is kind of cool, but it doesn't really seem to matter at the end of the day. It just was like, oh, let's build a spaceship. That's kind of a neat mechanism. And I hate saying that because that's the problem with a game like this. I just go, meh. And I really feel like in a few years, I'm not going to remember even how this game played or what it was about, because its generic theme on top of generic mechanisms make for a fairly generic game. It's a fine worker placement game. If you buy it, I wouldn't say you've necessarily made a mistake. You can play it and have a good time. I just don't think you'll be talking about it, and I could probably list 50 games that are in this same genre that I would recommend first. That's the problem. It's a crowded market, and Farlight is a game that's going to get squeezed out. I'm Tom Vasel. We'll see you all next time. Dice Tower Judgment, a fine worker placement game.